what are the other myths that kind of drive you crazy?
That compost is stinky and gross.
My compost has never, I've never smelled it at all. Never.
It shouldn't smell during any stage of the process. The only time that there should be a smell, if there is one, is when you first put all the ingredients in. And that smell is just weird soup. It's not. It's not like, ugh. Especially in those tumblers. That's the main help calls that I get, is to how to fix the tumblers. And those things, I just am so bothered because I feel like it makes people feel discouraged about composting, because you open up the little flap and it's so hot and stinky, and then all these flies come blasting you in the face, and that's not composting. That's like, that's an addiction to convenience is what that is. And we're trying to merge convenience with composting. I don't know what can be more convenient than this. I don't know what's more convenient than digging a hole in the ground. But no one's making money off of those. So that's why we don't hear about those. Those aren't advertised every spring and fall, so.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, the consumerism of it. And I should, on that side, say consumerism of compost is great, right? We want more people to compost, and from that is going to come products and hopefully, more jobs and more better livelihoods for people to be able to actually live off of compost. Let's just make sure we're not getting caught up in the convenience part of it, and that it's actually helping the earth instead of just helping us.
Now, what do you have over here in this group of stuff?
So this is a little demo of how easy it is to get materials if you needed to bulk up your compost, if you wanted to make a large amount of compost for your garden next year. It's a general rule of thumb that you will never produce as much compost as you need when you're gardening, so it's great to look for inputs, because that's how we become better earthlings, by helping those that can't compost. We'll compost their stuff for them. So for instance, Starbucks. They literally are stopping giving out these bags in town because no one is picking up the coffee. I think I'm like one of the only people doing it. I know there's a few other people, but they're not even giving out the bags anymore because they say they have to take the time to fill up the bags and then they just throw them away. No one's picking them up. This is a powerhouse. You can use it it's an activator in your compost because the nitrogen is so high. You can also just spread it directly on top of your garden bed as mulch. I mean, you can literally just toss it around your land.
This is coffee leftover coffee grounds.
Yeah, just leftover coffee grounds from Starbucks.
Wow.
And they have, a lot of them put the coffee filters in there too, which is great. They've already given you a start for your carbon source.
Okay.
Because you need nitrogen and carbon.
Sure.
So you get a little mix in there. Yeah. And this was all picked up in one day.
That's
just to show you.
That's not,
that's nothing.
That's a lot but it's just one day.
That's one little impact, and I only went and picked up once that day. Like, they also had this amount that they threw away later that day.
Oh.
And it's just going into a landfill. We don't even have composting here in Flagstaff. There's no green waste program.
Yeah.
So
that would be nice to have. Wow. And so coffee is really great for spreading nutrients.
Yeah, you could make an entire batch of compost using primarily just cardboard for free from behind stores or wherever, or contact places. They're more than happy to give their cardboard that their customers or their employees don't have to spend time putting into the trash can, and then go hit up every single Starbucks. There's only 7 of them in town. And then
hey, Wes.
with a few small little extra ads, maybe stuff from your kitchen, or you could contact the food drive. Often has spoiled food that they are needing to throw away. There's a lot of resources for these things that we can use to make the compost, but you can make an entire batch of compost that big size using all free stuff.
And that's I never would have thought about going by Starbucks to pick up coffee.
I know.
And I'm a pretty savvy person, I think.
Yeah.
So if I haven't thought of it, it must be totally off the radar for a lot of people.
Well, and then places like Dutch Brothers won't let you take their coffee grounds because they said it's some corporate policy that they can't be earth friendly. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, so there's a lot of things that we can upcycle and use for our benefit that are just getting tossed, and no one's talking about it. So we just need to keep raising awareness about that kind of stuff.
now, what kind of response from are you getting now as opposed to when you started your business? Are people becoming more aware of composting? Are you working more?
I think I would say people are definitely becoming more aware of composting, being that when I first started composting, like 5+ years ago on a larger scale like I am now, a lot of people, like, I was like the weird girl with worms. Like, and now most of them all have their own worm bins and are telling other people about, oh, it's so easy and you just got to do it. And so that is awesome to see. And obviously that's in my bubble, but each person can make that kind of impact too. Like, I can impact 5 people, and then each one of those can impact a couple more and a couple more. And we just have to keep that rolling.
You're definitely an example of the old saying, each one teach one.
Yes.
And
I think
that's really important.
Yeah, it's very important, I think. That this like whole, gatekeeping on information thing, it's a little toxic, and it needs to
Right.
we need to be a community of earthlings now. The earth needs us.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not about what I know versus what you know or what I can make off of my knowledge. It's like we desperately need to join up and put our knowledge together and get this going.
Exactly.
We need to make more compost, improve the topsoil. It's only been 100 years since the Green Revolution, when topsoil began becoming eroded. By 1930, it was the Great Dust Bowl, and we had lost about 15% of our topsoil. We've now lost over 30% of our topsoil on Earth, and that's over the past 100 years. So if we all just started right now, what could we do in the next 100 years knowing what and that was on accident. So if we on purpose fix it, oh, what would this place look like?
Yeah.
It would be beautiful.
So
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
It's so simple. You just make compost, grow mushrooms. Mushrooms sequester so much carbon out of the atmosphere, so much quicker than anything else could.
Really?
And compost grows mushrooms obviously, as if they were meant to be together, because they are.
Wow, that's exciting.
Yeah.
I never thought about mushrooms having that kind of power.
The fungal hyphae on a mushroom underneath the ground, the system underneath, the amount of carbon it can sequester for years and years and years, and then it doesn't dissipate. It stays there sequestered until something else in nature comes along and uses it. So far, that's been us digging up the earth and tilling and pulling gas and doing all this stuff. So
yeah, that's another thing that I hear a lot about now is the opposition to a rototiller.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the tilling was introduced at the beginning of the Green Revolution, also known as the Third Agricultural Revolution, from Europe. Now, granted, we've been tilling, right? Tilling is as simple as poking a stick in the ground to put a seed in it, and I get a lot of pushback on tilling, so I have all the comebacks for you. But mild tilling, there's a difference between disturbing the land and tilling. So when we till, we are turning the land over. We're taking what was underneath and putting it on top. And when we do that, that's when all the carbon and carbon dioxide and some methane gases and some other things are released. When we do that, it took thousands and thousands of years for it to be sequestered, and within minutes, boom. And then what's been happening over this past 100 years since the first tiller was introduced, if this is the ground level, the first tiller that was introduced, tilled down to here. Oh, well, a couple years later, well, now my ground is compacted down here. Okay, deeper tiller. Oh, well, now my ground is compact. Oh, deeper tiller, deeper. And now our compaction level is so deep that the roots are having a hard time creating a good formation in the soil and allowing all the microorganisms to live in there, and that's why our topsoil is just blowing away. We're just creating compaction, killing all the life and fungus in the topsoil, and literally just killing it. So tilling is terrible. The difference is you can broad fork, and that's just, you stick a fork into the soil and then you just slightly lift it. You don't turn it over.
Like that?
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, you can use that. That's a pitchfork. There's better tools designed for the broad forking, but that could work for it.
Uh-huh. Okay.
And you just, if you have a lot of compaction, really what you should be doing to treat compaction is using compost and nature's tillers, so like dandelions and tillage radishes and sunflowers, things with giant tap roots that are designed by nature to go down and break up the compaction layers. Because compaction does happen in nature through rain and different things like that.
Sure.
In a mild form that the earth has the ability to deal with. When we bring in our machines and we're digging up the earth, we got to do something to help her in those fields.
Right.
Mushrooms and compost.
So tell us what your services entail.
So through Dirt Don't Hurt, I offer compost counseling, where if you're already composting or just being curious about composting, have some questions, and you just want to chat with me for a while about your general questions, we would just set up a phone call through my website. We can do a phone call or Zoom, and that's a 30-minute session, and we just chat about your general compost concerns. If you need more help than that, I have another service, which is my consultation, where I'll actually come out to your property and survey the elements of your property plus your personal lifestyle and ingredients available. And that appointment runs about an hour, and then afterwards you're provided with a booklet that's specifically for you around the appointment that we had. It will cover any major questions that you had, but it will also have, for instance, like diagrams of your home and property and where would be the best places to orient compost bins. It would be everything from the beginning to end of how to build it, maintain it, troubleshoot it, harvest it, restart it, everything you need to know to do compost.
Is there anything else that you want to touch on?
Don't be afraid. I want to say, it's not about, I think we need to kind of let go of some of these stigmas we have about what certain type of people do and who, only that type of certain person does that, and I just don't have the ability to do that because I'm doing all this or have this lifestyle or whatever. Being a good earthling can fit into everyone's lifestyle. We can all do our little tiny part to take care of the earth.
And that's what's needed. Everybody pitching in, being part of the solution.
The littlest things. Just acknowledging it and starting to think about it is your first step. And a lot of people aren't even doing that yet. So,
well, I hope this actually gets some people thinking.
I do too.
And so I thank you.
Thank you.
For being on Mundo Blue. And the web address is www.dirtdon'thurtaz.com, and I love that. I mean, that name is so perfect. Dirt Don't Hurt. That says a lot right there.
Yeah, and waste only exists if we make it. Everything can be turned into something useful. It's only turned into waste when we put it in the trash can and stop using it.